Every digital library should have consistent metadata with common descriptive metadata assigned to each digital object. Policy-based data management systems pursue the concept of consistency. Every file in a collection should have consistent properties, including access controls, arrangement, integrity, and descriptive metadata. An approach for implementing consistent metadata is to assign required metadata attribute names to a collection and then verify that each file in the collection has the same metadata attributes. This can identify non-conforming files. A log can be kept of non-conforming files, and procedures can be applied to replace missing descriptive metadata. A rule to verify that required metadata have been assigned to each file in a collection is available in Chapter 5.11.1 in the Policy Examples Workbook. A copy of the rule can be downloaded from LifeLab Zone Home RW More, Rules, ODM, List Metadata.r. The rule applies the following steps. Create a query for all subcollections of the user's home collection. Loop over the list of subcollections. For each subcollection, count the number of metadata attributes assigned to the subcollection. For each subcollection, count the number of files in the subcollection. If the number of files is greater than 0 and the number of metadata attributes is greater than 0, retrieve and loop over the metadata attributes in the collection. For each subcollection, loop over the files in the collection. For each file, count the number of metadata attributes. If the number of metadata attributes is greater than 0, retrieve the metadata attribute names for the file. Check that at least one of the metadata attributes corresponds to the subcollection metadata attribute name. Write out files with missing attribute names. The ODM list metadata.r rule is shown here. The rule is used by data repositories to identify all files that are missing required metadata. The rule assumes that the required metadata attributes have been assigned to the collection in which they are arranged. The approach allows each collection to have a different set of metadata attributes. A version of the rule can be created that writes to a log file instead of to standard out. In the listing here, *call defines the home directory for the user. A % is added to *call to enable a search across all subdirectories. A query is made to find all the subcollections that exist under the home directory. A loop is then done over the subcollections. *C contains the subcollection name. *Q is a query to create an ordered list of the attributes on the subcollection. A second query counts the number of attributes on the subcollection. If the number of attributes on the collection is 0, we will then skip the collection. There's nothing to compare. We then create a query to find all the files in the subcollection and count the number of files in the subcollection. If the number of files is greater than 0, and if there are attributes on the collection, then we will compare the attributes on each file with the attributes on each collection. We loop over all the files in the collection. We retrieve their name. We find all the metadata attributes for that file in the collection. In this case, we're only looking for attributes that are tags, so they have a specific units field, IROD user tagging : tag. We count the number of attributes on the file. If the number of attributes on the file is greater than 0, then we compare the attributes on the file with the attributes on the collection until we find an attribute on the file that is the same as the attribute on the collection. If we don't find one, we write out a message saying the file is missing a named attribute. Take 7 minutes to complete exercise 61. Set 2 metadata attributes on a collection. Run the rule from LifeLab Zone Home RW More Rules ODM List Metadata.r and verify whether the files in the collection have the same attributes that were specified on the collection name. Note that the rule is checking for tags and expects each file to be tagged with the same metadata attribute name as the collection. Please load a paragraph describing your results into the lifetime library in the subcollection class INLS 624 by the end of today's class.